Welcome back to my channel if you are a returning viewer, and welcome to my channel if you are a new viewer. For all those that subscribed, thank you. Very much appreciate that. So I'm just going to get into the core of the video because it's probably going to be a longer one. Don't want to keep people longer than necessary. I'm sure you have things to do. So I haven't been doing, I've done this experiment where I haven't done TBRs or wrap-ups just to see if it would help me read more, because I am a mood reader, so I flit about like a drunk squirrel. I don't necessarily stick to lists, and I thought like TBR videos were kind of pointless because I barely stuck to them anyway. Wrap-up videos were fun, but I really like blog videos, but they're hard to do, so it was just experimenting around, which is kind of why this channel hasn't been very active, aside from, you know, a couple readathons and that. So, yeah, basically this is my mid-year wrap-up. I'm just going to go through the books that I've read. So far this year, I have read 39 books. Goal's 100. I very rarely make that goal, but I set it for myself every year. I don't know why I do that to myself, but apparently I like torturing myself. I don't know. So the books are not in any particular reading order, because I just kept a big list and my computer automatically alphabetizes stuff. So these are going to be more or less in alphabetical order. So the first book on the list is Big Ship at the Edge of the Galaxy. Then I read Beauty of Darkness, which is book 3 of the Revenant Chronicles. If you have not read the Revenant Chronicles, highly recommend that you do. It is probably one of the most creative dystopian fantasy blend things I have ever read. I don't think it gets the praise it deserves. Then I have a list in front of me and I have to read it. I read Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Really enjoyed Cruel Prince. It wasn't one I thought I would enjoy, so it was a big surprise for me when I went into it. Liked it. Went out and bought books 2 and 3. Have not read them yet. At some point I will. Then I read Dark Shores. I believe there is 3 books in this series. I do not have any others. I'm on the fence if I'm going to get any of the others. I like Dark Shores, but it wasn't really what I thought it was. I mean, it's good. I do recommend reading it if you like pirate fantasy books. I don't know if it was my particular cup of tea though, so it's in my list at some point. If I think I want to read more on pirate fantasy, I'll pick up the other books if there are any, but I'm not going to do the research right now because I don't really care, honestly. Then we got a couple novellas. One is The Daughter of Time, which is a time travel romance. It is an adult book, but I do believe that the series it's the prequel of is a YA, also a time travel. The series, I think it's called After Kilmari. The YA series, I was totally not interested in any way, shape, or form when I looked at it. I'm sure it's great, but it did not catch my attention. The prequel novella, however, did. It is a good standalone. As I said, it's an adult romance, time travel, very heavy on the historical, but it does end in a bit of a cliffhanger, so just be aware of that because I think it's supposed to lead into the other series. I'm not picking up the other series, so I don't actually know how it ties in. Other than that, the prequel's about the mom, and then the actual series about the kids. Then, oh, this one, James Moriarty, Consulting Criminal by Andy Weir. Andy Weir can write 100 of these books, and I would read them. This was a novel. I was not part of a series, wasn't a prequel, wasn't anything. But it was, I think it was like a one-shot deal. I'm not really sure why there's not more written in it. I would read them. This for a novella is phenomenal. If you are a Sherlock Holmes fan, or even just like a historical Victorian, but like the dark, like the I want to say like the dark side of it, like the stories of like the criminal underbelly, not necessarily about like the rich and powerful sort of deal. Read that, and if you can get the hold of the audiobook, do the audiobook. The narrator's amazing. So yeah, that one, excellent book, but also mildly disappointing because there's not more to it, and there's not a series or anything as far as I could find on the internet. Then I finished off the Belgariad Enchanter's Endgame, which is book 5 of the Belgariad. If you have not read either the Belgariad or the, I'm probably going to screw this up because it's been a while, Malorian, which I believe is a sequel series to the Belgariad, oh my god, go do it. They are classic fantasy at its best. I read those once as a kid, and they are kind of up for all ages, even though they do say it is for adult. It is an adult fantasy, but I do feel that they're kind of, I mean, I probably wouldn't let like my 10-year-old read them, but definitely a younger reader, you know, a preteen, teenager, there's nothing in them that I wouldn't recommend for basically young adults or preteens. And I reread them, and they definitely hold up considering they're a fantasy that was written, oh gosh, I want to say sometime back in the 80s. Might even have been earlier than that. I never looked up the dates, but they were a classic in the 90s, so they might even have been written back in the 70s, I'm not sure. But they have stood the test of time. And as soon as my library gets the Malorian up, I will be getting those from my library. I know they have them, I just have to try and catch them while they're there and not actually out. Then I read, what's next on the list here? Lady of the Storm. Now this is book 2 of a series that's called The Elf Lords. I do not believe the series is actually in print anymore. I don't believe any of Catherine Kennedy's books are in print, actually, which is sad because she's a phenomenal author. The Fire Lord's Lover is the first one if you want to try and track it down. It is amazing, and it is a alternate history where elves are the ruling class. It's been a long time since I've read Fire Lord's Lover. I don't actually remember all the specific details, but I know there's like a rebellion going on, and they are primarily romance. But they do have quite the plot around them. It's, even though they're marketed as a romance, romance is kind of, I mean, it's primary, but it's very much tied in with fantasy elements, and they are very, very good. Was not as pleased with the second one as I was with the first, but it was still good and worth the read if you can track them down. Like I said, I do believe Catherine Kennedy's books are out of print. At least I have not been able to find them anywhere. I did luck out and pick up this trilogy all at once years ago when they were on sale with Kindle, and I'm just like now getting to them. But I went back to see if I could find more, and I couldn't anywhere. So that's a shame. But if you do manage to find at least the first one, Fire Lord's Lover, at like a used bookstore or something, and you like romance heavy fantasies, get at least that one. This one, I personally could take it or leave it, but it is book 2, so I thought I'd give it a try. Then on the list I have Lady Smoke, which is the second book in the Ash Princess trilogy. I really enjoy this trilogy, at least so far. I only got one more book to go. there will be a series review probably coming up, so I'm not going to get into too many details. Also, book 2, spoilers. I don't really want to spoil anyone. Then, Oathbringer, Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Not really much to say there. It's a Brandon Sanderson book, and I will read anything that man writes. So, yeah. I have the next one, Warbreaker. I pre-ordered it, and I haven't actually read it yet. I think it's called Warbreaker. It's sitting on my Kindle. I will get to it at some point. Yeah, so Oathbringer, finally. Oh my gosh, that only took me like 7 months to read. Then I read the second book in the 3 Dark Crowns trilogy called One Dark Throne. The series as a whole, I'm really not sure how I feel about it. I have book 3. I'm going to give it a try. I might not read book 4. Book 2 was definitely better than book 1. Book 1 was meh for me, but book 2 was better. Then I read Rise of Empire. Now this is a bind-up of books 3 and 4 of the Rhaeria Revelations. I read the Rhaeria Chronicles, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but last year, I want to say. I think it was the year before, and then last year I read books 1 and 2. That is a one. Now I know you can, like the author has said, you can read Revelations and Chronicles. They don't have to be in order, because I believe he actually wrote Chronicles after he wrote Revelations. But I started off with Chronicles, and I think personally for me, if I'm going to recommend that series, anything of the Rhaeria, is read them in chronological order, not in publication order, because there's so much that goes on in Chronicles that sets up the base of everything that comes together in Revelations. At least it's come together so far. There is 2 more books. So I think you do yourself a disservice if you read them in publication order, not in chronological order. My personal opinion, I know the author's been asked numerous times, and Michael J. Sullivan has said that you can read them in any order that you want. But like I said, I do think if you read them in publication order, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. Starless Sea. I'm probably going to get lynched for this one because I know Erin Morgenstern is a darling of the online book community. I do not like her books. I will not be reading any more from her. I DNF'd Starless Sea. I tried 3 times. 3 times. And I could not get to chapter 10. I tried The Night Circus and I DNF'd it at, I think, chapter 4 or 5. I don't usually DNF books until the first 50 pages. I did not get to 50 pages in Night Circus, and I think I got to like 70 or something in Starless Sea, and then I was like, that's it, I'm done. Her characters are good for somebody, I'm sure. I just found the characters irritating me. I could not connect with them. Every time their dialogue came up, it annoyed me. I don't think she's a bad author. I mean, I'm never going to say anyone's a bad author. I just did not for me. Her style of writing is not for me. I have read books written in that same kind of prose that she does by other authors that are way better. Tolkien being one of them. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that. Read it if you want. I personally am not going to recommend it to anyone if they am asked about it, because I did not enjoy it. That was actually my first, and I think first DNF of the year. There is one other in here which I am getting to. Swan Writers, Book 2 of The Children of Peace. Series review for that one coming up too. I'm not going to get too much into that. Needless to say, I did not like the second book as much as I liked the first. Tarnished City, which is book 2 of the Dark Gifts trilogy. I will not be reading book 3. The story overall is just, like, it's good. It's a good premise. Author definitely writes very well. But what to me that series is lacking is world building. It's basically like, you're not told anything. It's like, this is just kind of how it is. And then it tries to be like rebellion and stakes, but it's hard when you can't connect with not just the characters, but when you can't connect with the world and you don't know, you're being told this is terrible, but you're not being shown it's terrible. It's like, okay, you told me something's really bad, tell me what's bad about it, kind of thing. So read it if you like your fantasies a bit on the darker side. It is a bit on the darker side. But just don't be prepared for any deep world building. It's definitely not got that. Second DNF. And actually, I think this is my last DNF. I only DNF'd 2 in the last 6 months, so kudos to me, I guess. The Poison Throne, which is book 1 of the Moorhawk trilogy. This is a very old fantasy. I believe it was 2008 or 2007. I got it from my library because it read, well, I thought it was a fantasy, read very well. You know, there was talk of, like, you know, forbidden magic and, you know, king went crazy, rebellion for the throne. Like, it's all in the back of the book. And I'm like, oh, this sounds like right up my alley. I like fantasies with crazy people. So I started reading it, and it has not aged well. There are some it's like it didn't know what it wanted to be. It wanted to be a fantasy, but then it also wanted to be a historical, and there were some racial slurs and stuff that, if it was a historical, would have suited the time. So don't get me wrong there. But because this was a fantasy, I really felt like they were out of place, and it was very, very cringy, and the romance was just, no, just no. So, yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm sure it's somebody's cup of tea. I don't even know if it's still in print. I didn't go looking that much. I got actually about 100 pages in, and I was like, especially with the racial slurs against the one prince who was a Middle Eastern inspired character. I couldn't do it. If it was an actual historical, I probably could have choked it down, because that's how they would have been referred to in history. By today, cringy as fuck, but back then it wasn't. But like I said, this wasn't a historical in any way, shape, or form. It was very much a fantasy that was very clear. It had a historical setting, but again, it's not Earth history. It's fantasy world history, and I just think there was a lot of uncalled for things in that book, and the romance was cringy as fuck. So that's when the romance got serious, that's when I booked out. Shadow Queen by C.J. Redwine. I remember reading that, liking it when I read it. Don't have much to say about it now because I don't actually remember it. I'm sure it's in one of my vlogs somewhere on this channel. There Will Come a Darkness. I was so hyped for this book. So hyped. So disappointed. I liked it. The first part. And about the last 20 pages. And the 150 some pages in the middle, I was just like, this is kind of boring. Not how you want to start a trilogy, considering, you know, second book syndrome and all that. So I don't know. I'm probably going to give the second book a try if it's out or when it comes out. First book, it was an entertaining read, that's for sure. I loved the first part. I loved the world building. Loved the the romance actually was not bad in that book, and I'm not a romance person, but I liked the romance in that book. And the last part of the book was amazing, like really amazing. That is going to be some big shoes for book 2 to fill in. But like I said, you got to get through about 125, 150 pages in that middle part. That is just like, what are we even doing here? So unless that comes to play later, see, sometimes epic storytelling is, at least to me, you set something up over here and it seems like the most boring part of, say, book 1, that you're just like, oh my god, can we please move on? But then you get to book 3 or book 4 and you see how all the shit that started in that part of the story that you hated of book 1 all comes together. And that is amazing sometimes, if done well. I don't know if this will be done well. I don't know. We'll have to see. I've got book 2 on my radar. I'll actually have to go look up and see if there's a release date yet. So that could work out very well in its favor in the long run. This is also why I don't try and review series until I've read all the books. Or at least a good. Okay, my camera shut off on me there somewhere. I think I was just at the end of There Will Come a Darkness when that shut off. So we're just going to continue trucking along. We're almost to the end. Next one on my list is Trader's Game. Really enjoyed this one. I picked up book 2 and I'm going to see how that goes. Might pick up book 3 after that. I mean, yeah, I don't really want to say too much. I'll probably do a series review, but so far, really, really good YA book, and I look forward to continuing it. Now this one, I'm not quite done yet. Should be done by the end of the month though, so I'm just going to toss it in here now. And that is Two-Faced Queen, which is the second book in the, I think it's Legend of the Mercenary Kings. Oh my god, if you have not read these books, you need to go read them. They are so underhyped. Considering, like, I don't want to give too much away, but like, just with, I'm going to struggle here a bit about what I love about them, because again, I've seen where it's going, and I don't want to give too much away. But the world building and the politics of it, and the twists and turns, and also seeing the character growth of the main character, Michael. I mean, at first he was a douchebag, I hated him, but to see how he's now progressing, and hopefully will continue to progress, like, just wow, just, yeah, 5 out of 5. Like, I can't even hype it up enough. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I do believe there's more books coming out. There is only the 2 right now. First one is, I'm going to draw a blank. I will put a picture of it up though. Yeah, check it out. Then for the series that I've read so far, I've read through most of A Court of Thorn and Roses series. I do have about 100 pages, I think. I'd have to go back. I have to go look. I put it down somewhere and just got sidetracked. Court of Silver Flames, Nesta's story, or the beginning of Nesta's story. I haven't quite finished yet. I should have it finished by the end of the month. It and Two-Faced Queen and the 2 Wheel of Time books I'm reading right now are my priorities. So, yeah. I think that's been talked to death on the internet for those that love it, those that hate it. I'm definitely loving it more my second read around than I did on my first. And when I say second, I mean for A Court of Thorn and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury, because I originally DNF'd Mist and Fury back when I originally read it, when it first came out. Hated it. but, you know, obviously my reading tastes have changed because I'm enjoying it now. Then Wheel of Time. It is no secret, if you've hung around this channel at all for the last couple of months and seen anything in my vlogs, that I am working my way through this series. I had originally read them, I read book 7. I was waiting for book 8, I believe. I can't remember reading book 8, but anyway, I was waiting for it to come out, some book to come out, and it was being forever, and I put it aside and never picked it back up, but it is finished now, so I am rereading through all the ones that I read like 15 years ago, and then we'll finish it. What I am read so far, I now remember why I loved this series so much. It is fantasy at its classic best. If you have not read The Wheel of Time, I highly recommend doing it, but just be aware you are going to be in for the long haul. There are 13 books in this series, and it is just one big ass story. That is broken up into semi-big bits. So yeah, just be aware of what you're getting into. Put time aside, it's addictive. And I have read so far the first 3. I am working through books 4 and 5 right now. I'm working through book 4. I also have book 5. I've been getting these as audiobook from my library, so it's a very slow go for me, even slower than most, because I haven't bought them. Which I might when the series is done. I want to know how it finishes up before I actually decide to rebuy it, because that's a lot of books to have to buy. Then I am also working my way again through the Legend of Drit series. I read these about 20 years ago, 15 or 20 years ago. I put them down about 10 years back. I just felt like I had grown out of the series. And then, I don't know, with rereading Wheel of Time and rereading the Bulgarian and a couple of the other older favorites, I decided to pick it back up. I was like, you know what? I loved those first books. Let's pick them back up. Holy shit, they're a lot darker than I thought they were. I don't remember them being that dark. But they, well, dark as R.A. Salvatore gets. I mean, it doesn't get, like, you know, grim dark or anything, but I am reading them chronologically, not publication order, because publication order is a mess, at least for the first 6 or 9 books. That is a 32 book series, and yes, I now have them all. I had the original like 20, and then Amazon had a sale, so I picked up the others. Hopefully I still like them. Yeah, I have read the Dark Elf trilogy. So far, I'm really enjoying it. Basically, the Dark Elf trilogy is one big-ass prologue, is probably how best way to put that. That is set up, that series, even though it's very, very long, is set up into different adventures, and it's usually either trilogies or quartets. So they're very easy to read in chunks and to pick and choose where in the timeline you want to pick it up, and you can really pick it up anywhere. I personally am a completionist, and I like chronological order, so I get to start at the beginning. Then I read the 4 books of the Dragon Songs saga. This is by J.C. Kang. I don't know if it's male, female. I haven't actually looked at the author. I probably could do that. But anyway, that is an amazing quartet. There are spin-off series, which I also have picked up. There are other books, which I am looking at. If you like magic systems based in music, you like dragons, and you like very, very unique and Eastern inspired fantasies, this series is an amazing blend. It really blends, like when it comes to names and clothing, like you can just picture these characters in your mind without even being told, really. It's kind of hard to explain without doing too many spoilers. Series are so hard. But anyway, if you like your fantasies where you can kind of clearly tell what cultures are inspiring, but yet they are still very unique in that they are their own culture. The world building in those 4 books is probably some of the best I have ever seen. I'm really looking forward to continuing on, and I know there's like I said, there's a few spin-off series. I have one in particular that's about a side character in this series that I'm really excited to get into at some point. So, hey there, Editing Iceland here. I realized after that big ol' ass list, I forgot to mention one book. I'm impressed with myself, it's just one. The one I forgot to mention was To Kill a Queen. Really enjoyed this one too. I have books 2 and 3. We'll be carrying on at some point. We'll have a series review at some point, but yeah, just realized when I was editing I forgot to mention that, so there you go. Now I really am going. Bye. Okay, and that was a long haul. So finally I am to the last 3 books. You don't want to hear about erotica books, you can end the video here. Okay, you're still here? Okay, fine. So, basically there's 3. I do, occasionally, I like romance books, sometimes a little heavier on the dark or the naughty side of things, if you want to say. I'm not going to go into in-depth reviews. I mean, if you're at this part of the video, you're probably an adult. At least I hope you're an adult if you're watching any of my videos, because I don't know why you wouldn't be an adult. But anyway, Prey and Renegade. Skip them. They are somebody's cup of tea, and apparently that's a interesting kink to have, but they had actually fairly high ratings on Goodreads. I have no idea why, but then I didn't understand 50 Shades Grey either. So, yeah. Just don't even. They're both absolute shit. However, one that was actually surprisingly good and had at least the startings of a decent plot. And yes, I like plot. Does not seem like these books should have any, but you know, they do. The good ones do anyway. Close Liaisons. Basically aliens take over our governments. They are our new overlords, and yeah, that's basically all I'm gonna say on that. You can go do your own damn research if you got to this point of the video and you're interested. Okay, that's it. That is a very long list of books, but that is what I wrap up, my big ass wrap up for the last 6 months. I'm gonna probably go back doing monthly wrap ups because I don't want to do another video this long. And yeah, that's it. I'm out of here. See ya.